he was out a little bit, and Wilson is like, there was a lot of changes, and I think a lot of emotions, regardless, wasn't so much in the defensive end, but I think I like that pairing. So I think they'll bounce back.
Right. Oh, by the way, it's regulation wins is first, regulation overtime wins is second, and total wins is third.
Okay.
Fixed himself about 40 minutes ago, but I thought I'd put it in there in case people are listening on the audio and didn't see that. So I thank Greg for correcting himself and letting us know that part of it. So exciting week. So next week we'll recap maybe a little bit of this Boston game, but probably not talk very much about it. And then we'll talk more about the actual Boston playoff series that will just be starting. I will do a little bit of a note here. If they play Monday on air, Carol and I have agreed, and we don't play Tuesday, so it's not back to back.
Right.
We'll probably put the podcast on our Tuesday so we can recap both of the games and not be competing directly with the Capitals on Monday.
Just let me know.
So we'll see how that goes. Tomorrow's podcast is going to be live with Carly. That's going to be 9 o'clock Eastern for us again. Carly is a big Bruins fan, so we'll be rooting against each other, and we'll do that live on my Twitch channel as well. So if anyone wants to check that out, but Anna, I'm sure you had a very fiery conversation with Gil.
I didn't actually. I took the Sunday off.
Oh yeah, of course, it's Mother's Day.
It was Mother's Day, and I was hosting my brother and having a little barbecue, some cocktails and tacos, and it was a very awesome day. And I told him, I was like, I'm sorry, I just
No, I mean, that makes sense. Enjoy Mother's Day. But if people want to still check out Gil's thing, they can click the Power Play Point podcast as part of our podcast button on sportsothp.com. And I'm sure Anna will be on in the near future to talk playoffs with that. So, again, hockey talk in next week's podcast is going to possibly be on a Monday or a Tuesday.
Yeah.
To be determined. Stay tuned to SportsOTHP. Facebook page, facebook.com/SportsOTHP, or search Sports and Health Podcast. We'll keep everyone up to date with that. But Anna, thank you for helping us break down the last full week, and we look forward to breaking down the upcoming.
My pleasure. We'll have a fantastic night, and I will Monday or Tuesday next week. If you guys need me, just let me know.
Yeah, of course. I'll definitely let you know.
Have a good night.
And I appreciate it as always. I was having some technical difficulty. I had to restart my feed. I lost all of my feeds at the same time.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. I'm so sorry. Well, we're still recording my feeds on a couple platforms, so that's good. And we're still recording, so that's always good. But thank you so much, Anna, for coming on. We're going to bring in Brian Brennan now. We're going to talk a little bit of baseball here. How are you doing today, Brian?
I'm doing great. Love that Tom Wilson segment. Just absolutely love it.
I appreciate that.
Oh man, you know we had to break it down for the Cats fans, Brian. I'm glad you composed yourself. I was gonna see if he's gonna come on camera, great to throw the camera.
He stuck to his word, Brian.
I'm so over it, guys. All I have to say is I'm completely over this thing, and I appreciate you guys letting me sit it out. So I am so over the Tom Wilson thing.
I think your anger is why my feeds went down, Brian.
Sounds good. All right. Well, Carol, help us break down the first couple of games, and then I know that Brian's itching to talk a little bit of Yankees baseball with us, and I will actually come back and talk about that with you. I'm going to let you guys talk about that first series for a second while I get a drink, but I'll be right back, and then I'll talk a little. I did get to see the 3 games in the Yankees series, so I'm excited to talk about that with you guys.
All right. Well, it was not so good week for the Nats. They went 1-5. If you recall, last week they were in first place with a 500 record, and unfortunately, the Braves and the Yankees had a different plan for the Nats. They went 1-5. They are now currently 13-17, 5th place in the East. They currently have a 3-game series coming up against Philly starting tomorrow. We'll break that down at the end of the segment. But, they were swept by Atlanta for the first time since 2014. So that should give you an idea of, the disappointment of this series, especially with the Nats sitting in first place. You were hoping they would turn the corner and, start to get hot. But unfortunately, Atlanta had another plan in mind. First game was a 6-1 loss. Brian, I need your help pronouncing this guy's name. Yona?
I don't know it either, man. I was just trying to think what it is too. I don't know. I don't know. He pitched last night too in the Sunday night game, and I still can't remember what it is.
It's spelled Ynoa, and
I think it's Yanoa. Something like that.
All right, we're gonna go with Yanoa because he definitely Yanoa beat the Nats pretty much by himself because he hit a grand slam off of Nats bullpen, which was basically the difference in the game. Nats tried to give a late push, but yeah, he went 7 innings, giving up 4 hits, 1 run, no earned runs. That run was on an error, I believe. 4 strikeouts and 2 walks. Joe Ross took the loss, going 5 in the third, giving up 5 hits, 2 runs, 3 strikeouts and 1 walk. Trey Turner went 2 for 3. Kyle Schwarber had the RBI, and as I mentioned, they gave a grand slam to the pitcher. Second game of the series was a 5-3 loss. Max Fried, who was making a return from the IL, earned the victory for the Braves. He went 5 innings, giving up 4 hits, 1 run, 6 strikeouts, 1 walk. Eric Fetty took the loss. He went 5 innings, giving up 5 hits, 5 earned runs, 3 strikeouts and 1 walk. And he also gave him a grand slam to Ozuna, which was the difference in the game. Will Smith earned a save for the Braves, which was his 6th. He went 1 inning, giving up no hits, no earned runs. Trey Turner went 1 for 5 with a 2-run home run, and Gomes went 2 for 4 with a solo home run. And the final game of the series, where the Nats were trying to salvage at least one victory, and unfortunately weren't able to do that behind John Lester. They lost 3-2. Drew Smiley earned the victory for the Braves, going 6 innings, giving them 4 hits, 1 run, no earned runs, with 1 strikeout and 3 walks. John Lester went 5 innings, giving them 4 hits, 3 earned runs, with 5 strikeouts and 2 walks. Will Smith earned his 7th save, going 1 inning, giving up 1 hit with 1 strikeout and no earned runs. Yan Gomes went 1 for 4 with an RBI single. In this series, to me, it just looked like the Braves just were a step ahead of the Nats, and pretty much offensively, the pitching was okay, but they kept loading the bases. They were walking too many guys in all 3 outings, and Atlanta made them pay for it. Brian mentioned last week Atlanta was on a 4-game losing streak, and Nats were on a 4-game winning streak. We were hoping they would have that momentum to, get a little distance in the NL East, but now they're in 5th. Brian, did you get a chance to check out any of this series?
I watched a little bit of the first game where I guess we'll go with that, hit the grand slam. And that kind of set the tone. I thought this was an interesting series because the Nats actually came in to it in first place. And then after the sweep, they came out of it in last place. And that's got to be really frustrating. And it goes to show you that really nobody is running away with the NL East so far this season. Every team so far has been about the same. The Mets are having their own issues. The Phillies are having issues as well. The Braves got off to a bit of a slow start and for this sweep. So the NL East hasn't really hit their stride yet. I still think there's a lot of time for the Nationals, even after the events this week, to turn it around and have a great season. But yeah, this was a tough sweep at the hand of the Braves to give up 2 grand slams back-to-back days, especially one to the pitcher. And I believe he got a hit last night too in the Sunday night game too. So this guy can hit. So he's a pitcher who can rake. So that's I like seeing that. I hate pitchers hitting, but I like seeing guys who can actually hit.
I don't like seeing on the Braves.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Good point. Good point, Carol. Good point. But tough sweep for sure. I mean, Atlanta's a division rival. You're gonna be fighting with them all season, so it's tough. But bounce back next time you play them. That's pretty much all I gotta say.
There you got to. Arun, I see you joined and got that beautiful dog staring at you in the background. Did you get a chance to watch any of this Braves series, and what did you take away from this unfortunate sweep?
Yeah, you mentioned first sweep Nats had against the Braves in 2014, and I just Googled it. It's Enoa, apparently. That's how you pronounce that pitcher.
Arun, the names guy.
Yeah, and they walked Freeman to get to him, and that was unfortunate. That the pitcher hit a grand slam, and yeah, the Nats, Petty, he didn't come up in that game pretty well. Then even the last game, I guess Trey Turner, he hit his 7th home run, which was nice, but they lost the second game. And the final game was just like, I don't know what happened to the Nats. As you mentioned, they were on a 4-game winning streak. I think the Braves woke up and they're not a team that normally goes on 4-game losing streak. So I don't think any of us were predicting the Nats to get a sweep or anything, but definitely was pretty disappointing that the Nats got swept themselves.
I must concur, Arun. I was definitely not expecting a sweep by the Braves. I wasn't expecting for us to sweep the Braves, but I was at least expecting to get one victory out the deal. And let's go ahead and get into this next series because it's almost disappointing as this series, but I'm going to highlight the lone bright spot.
I wouldn't say that, Carol. I wouldn't say it's disappointing.
Well, the fact that they got swept and they only won one against you guys when they had a chance to win 2, it's disappointing. But
yes,
let's talk about the good. The one victory of the week. 11-4 victory over the Baltic
I'd
Yankees.
argue that we could actually win all 3 of the games, which is even more disappointing.
I would too, even from a Yankee perspective. I would agree with that.
Yeah. It's the Braves also, so it always stings a little bit more as the Braves. And I used to be a Braves fan. So. But let's get back to these Yankees. I know Brian is beaming over there and loving that his New York team, was able to come through on his prediction and them winning 2 out of 3. In the first game, the Nationals won 11-4, as I mentioned. Kyle Finnegan earned the victory. He went 1 inning, giving up no hits, no earned runs with a strikeout and a walk. And Brian, I'm gonna need your help on this guy's name, Jonathan
Loizaga. They call him Johnny Lasagna.
Yeah, okay, that's big. I knew I heard him calling that. I didn't want to call him that. I was like, that would be wrong. But okay,
No, the fans call him Lasagna.
Okay, all right, cool. Yeah, because it does kind of look like that. But he got the loss, going 1/3 of an inning, giving up 4 hits, 5 runs, 4 of those earned with the strikeout and the walk. What was it? The 8th inning, the Nationals offense just exploded. It was a tie game, and the Yankees bullpen just didn't get it done. Johnny Lasagna, as I mentioned, I gave up 4 hits, 5 runs, 4 of those earned. Josh Bell blew things open with a 3-run home run in that 8th. He went 1 for 5. Soto went 2 for 5 with 2 RBIs and a home run. Kyle Schwarber went 1 for 4 with an RBI single, and Gomes went 1 for 5 with the home run and 2 RBIs also. This was definitely the bright spot of the week. This is the team that we expected to see from the Nationals, and unfortunately, we only saw it one time last week. And going into the second game was an 11-inning, extra inning game that I know Brian, he probably liked the extra inning rule in this game because they won. Nationals lost 4-3. Justin Wilson earned the victory for the Yankees. He went 1 inning, giving up no hits, no runs, 2 strikeouts. Tanner Rainey took the loss for the Nationals. He went no innings, giving up 1 hit, 1 run, 2 walks. Starlin Castro had an RBI single, and Trey Turner had a sacrifice fly RBI. And in the last game of the series, Nats were hoping to get at least 1. At least 2 to try to win the series, but unfortunately couldn't get it done because Brad Hand, I'll let Brian break that down. He was filling me on some of Brad Hand's problems with the Yankees. But Aroldis Chapman earned the victory, going 1 inning, giving him 1 hit, no earned runs, 1 strikeout. Brad Hand took the loss, going 1/3 of an inning, giving up 1 hit, 1 earned run with 2 walks. Kyle Schwarber hit a 2-run home run, I believe, in the 8th inning to tie the game. And unfortunately, Brad Hand has issues with closing out the Yankees, and looked like he had issues in this game also. Brian, give us a little back history on Brad Hand that you filled me in on yesterday and when we were talking offline, and give your thoughts on this 2 out of 3 that you predicted that the Yankees would take from the Nats.
Well, I'll start with the 2 out of 3. I'm really happy the Yankees took 2 out of 3, and they did it the hard way. They had to come back in that game twice on Saturday. And you mentioned Brad Hand's struggles against the Yankees. Last year, he was on the Cleveland Indians, and he blew a save against the Yankees in the wild card series last year. So the Yankees have a history of coming back against Brad Hand, and they did it again on Saturday. And then on Sunday, they brought him in again. And I was like, I didn't really understand why they were bringing him in after what happened on Saturday. Like, did you not see what happened? Like, I mean, the Yankees, and he immediately walked Tyler Wade on Sunday, who was one of the worst hitters on the Yankees team. And as soon as he did that, I was like, there's no way we're not winning this game right now. It's Brad Hand's in the game. He just walked the worst hitter on the team. So, of course, we're winning this game now. And Stanton got an RBI single to win the game on Sunday. Glaber had the game-winning infield hit on Saturday. The Friday game was awful. From my perspective, I know it was great for you guys. Honestly, that 8th inning had me banging my head against the wall. It was so awful. I hated that inning so much. But we got one thing we do have to talk about, though, is how good Scherzer was on Saturday. I mean, he was amazing, and it gets forgotten about because the Nationals didn't win the game. But Scherzer had 14 strikeouts in that game and was really shutting the Yankees down. So it's impressive that they were able to come back against Hand and win that game. And like you said, I do love the extra innings rule a little bit more after that win. I don't hate it as much as I do after that win. But yeah, from my perspective, really happy they won 2 out of 3. Like Robbie said, the Nationals could have won all 3 of these games. And let's get ready for Tim Clark wearing a Yankees hat next week. I'm looking forward to that. He lost the bet to me because of the series. He'll be wearing a Yankees hat on the show next week.
Yeah, so I can't believe Tim, an Orioles fan.
He's not even a Nationals fan.
I know. It's such a bad bet for Tim. I appreciate trying to get you to wear a Nats hat on our show, but, like, as an Orioles fan, that's kind of, like, double hurt for him.
I know.
I feel bad for him. So next week on Wizards Talk, as we'll recap the last regular season week, he'll have to do so, at least part of it, in a Yankees hat. So that'll be rough to watch. But overall, I thought that the Nats played great in all 3 games, and it was just very, very frustrating, especially on Mother's Day. I was over watching it with my dad. My dad stepped out of the room, and then that's exactly when the whole fall apart in the end of the game happened. And he grew up a Yankees fan, and I wonder if he just left the room as a way to jinx the Nats, and he's just that way he doesn't have to be upset about it. He claimed that he was rooting for the Nationals in this game, but the second he left, the Nationals fell apart. So I don't know what happened. I'm definitely bummed, but I know that he said that this thing doesn't hurt as much when the Nats lose to the Yankees. But anyway, so it was frustrating because those are the first 3 games that I'd watched more than a couple innings of in each game. And I was like, oh, man, these are all 3 really exciting, great games. And all of them we had opportunities. And
true that. Well, to piggyback off of what Brian was talking about with Max Scherzer, I forgot to mention this also. He becomes only the 5th pitcher in Major League history with 10-plus strikeout games. He joins Nolan Ryan, Randy Johnson, Roger Clemens, and Pedro Martinez as the only 5 pitchers that's ever done
Good
that.
company.
Yes, very much so. When you say Nolan Ryan alone, you already know what it is. But just to piggyback on that, Arun, we didn't mean to leave you out. How did you feel about this unfortunate loss to the Yankees in this series?
Yeah, as you guys pointed out, all 3 games winnable for the Nationals. Brad Hand in particular was pretty bad in the bullpen. He blew 2 save opportunities in 1 game on Saturday when they also had granted the runner on second base was already there, but the first run was definitely he walked LeMahieu to lead off that inning. And then they went back to him again on Sunday, which was kind of weird, but I thought they actually should have taken him out at the beginning of the 9th inning. He looked pretty off, like walking people and all over the place. But let's talk about that Friday game because it was a nice game for the Nats. Corbin, he actually came out and pitched well. Lasagna did not really pitch well. He had a .5 ERA that game, but 3 errors by the Yankees, 1 by Aaron Judge, who hadn't made an error in 2 years. That was pretty good for the Nats. And Stevenson, he pinch run, and then he came all the way back around and got to hit and then the following later in the game, Soto hit the home run to cap it off. So it was a nice win for the Nats, but hand was pretty bad. They had the opportunity, especially on Saturday. I don't think Sunday was, they didn't have the lead, but yeah, that game, especially they got the one run off of Chapman to keep them alive, and Chapman looked pretty much unhittable, but it wasn't enough. And that's just the way it goes, and the Nats are in a hole again.
Yeah, real quickly, to speak to your point, that inning of baseball was like one of the first big innings I got to see this season, and holy cow! I'm sorry, Brian, but that was one of the craziest innings I've ever witnessed. Just watching a team fall apart like that, it was something.
It's all good. We got our revenge the next 2
Well,
days.
we kind of
It's all good.
Remember
It's all
the
good.
remember in the World Series with the Astros when the Nats beat them like 12-4 when the floodgates just opened in that one inning. So that's the Nats that we know they can beat. So it's good to see flashes of that now. We just got to get it consistently and get our pitching together. Once Strasburg come back, things, and Corbin finally figures out what's going on with him, I think they'll be okay. This early season low, they only 3.5 games out of first, so it's not really a big deal right now.
Yeah, let's get into this upcoming week because I know that we actually have a boxing segment that's going to be in between our baseball and basketball segments. In just a moment, I see we have a special guest on the line. So we got 2 series this upcoming week, one against the Phillies and one against the Diamondbacks. You want me to go through the times, or do you want to do it, Carol?
No, I just jotted them down real quick. You got the 3-game series versus the Phillies. You got a 7:05 start tomorrow night, 7:05 start Wednesday night, and a 1:05 start on Thursday. And then the Nats travel to Arizona, where they play the Diamondbacks on Friday at 9:40 Eastern Time, Saturday at 8:10 Eastern Time, and Sunday at 4:10 Eastern Time. The Phillies right now, they're pretty much like the Nats trying to find their way. I think Bryce got hit in the face with a pitch last week, and he's doing better. And he reached out to the pitcher because they knew it was an accident, even though a brawl kind of almost broke out after that happened. But division games, these Nats got to win. They just got swept by the Braves, so they definitely got to, get back on the horse in the NL East. So they need to win at least 2 out of 3 versus the Phillies. And Arizona haven't had much time to check them out, but I know Brian and Phyllis in, but I think the Nats should hopefully bounce back from this 1-5 week and hopefully go 4-2 next week. Brian, what do you say about this upcoming schedule for the Nats?
Yeah, I think you got to win the game against the Phillies at least 2 out of 3. They're going to be one of the main competitions in the division. And like I said earlier, nobody's really run away with this thing yet. So got to win as many games as you can against divisional opponents. So I say 2 out of 3 against the Phillies. As far as the Diamondbacks go, I actually saw them. I went to a Mets game. I was in New York this past weekend, and I went to a Mets game on Friday against the Diamondbacks. And they had a 4-0 lead in that game, and they blew it and lost 5-4 to the Mets in extra innings. And they went on to get swept by the Mets that weekend. So this weekend. So I think they're kind of struggling a bit. They did not honestly look like a great team when I saw them. I think those are winnable games for the Nationals as well on the West Coast. I think they can win 2. I think they can win 4 games this week against the Phillies and D-backs. I got them winning 4 of those games.
All right. Arun, what do you think about this upcoming week for the Nats?
Yeah, the Phillies, they're also coming off a series loss against the Braves. And, I think the Nats played the Phillies tough. They do well against Bryce Harper since he's been there. But right now, the Phillies are up there in the division, so hopefully the Nats take care of business against the Phillies. And then the Diamondbacks, they've lost 6 straight games, including 3 to the Marlins, as Brian mentioned. They were swept by the Mets. So I think the Nats definitely should take that series against the Diamondbacks. I'm going to say they go 4-2, or they have 2 series wins against the Phillies and Diamondbacks as well.
All right, Robbie, what do you think?
Yeah, so one thing that's interesting is Washington's played less games than most of their other divisional opponents, with the exception, I believe, of the Mets. And so it's been a weird start to the season with all this COVID, and remember the Nats kind of started a week late because of that. So they're right now, they have the same number of losses as Philadelphia, but 5 less wins. So we got to take advantage of the fact that we're got some of these games in hand, and then you got to beat them, so that way you can kind of flip the standings a little bit, and hopefully. I mean, last week we were talking about a first place team, and this week we're talking about a last place team. But if we can get 4, hopefully 5 wins this week, it could make a huge. I mean, 5 wins, just to let people know, would put us, at 18 and 18 and back to 500. So that's kind of what we have to really shoot for if we want to get back into this division.
No doubt, no doubt. Yes, like I said, it's still early. It's still Soto just got back, and they got to figure things out. He got to get his swing back. He said he got a home run, and last series against the Yankees, he loved New York, so he always has some good performances there. So once he gets back in the lineup and gets his bat going consistently, and hopefully they keep Trey at the leadoff spot, and they might got to think about moving Robles down in the lineup because he still hasn't gained the patience at the plate. Because there was a few times last week in a couple of games where he came up to the plate with men runners in scoring position, and he either struck out or popped out or even lined out. Line out, I'll take a line out, but when striking out and popping out, he's not being patient, especially when the pitcher is in trouble when the bases are loaded. And he's just walked 2 guys. You can't, sometimes it's not always good to go swing at the first pitch. So I think if they get the top of the lineup, because, I missed Adam Eaton out there. I felt like him and Trey was a good 1-2 punch in that top 2 spots. And I think that's one of the things the Nats are missing right now, that spunk, that hustle, that, guy that goes out there and puts it all on the field. Not saying Robles doesn't, but you get a different bat at the plate with Eaton than you do with Robles, is all I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to have Brian and Arun turn off the cameras for just a second. We've got a special guest I've been chatting with. We're going to get into some boxing talk real quick, and then we'll get back into the Wizards and talk about the triple-double king 182, Russell Westbrook, in just a moment. But we'll bring Paul in now, and I'll have Paul and CP3 talk a little bit of boxing real fast, and then we'll get into some basketball after that.
No doubt. Appreciate that, Robbie. And it's been a while. It's been a long while since we had Paul, the boxing guy, on Sports on the Hill podcast. But he hit me up this morning, said he had a lot to talk about. So we got Paul, the boxing guy, on to break some things down. And I got to talk to you offline about some other things, too. I got in the process of some boxing stuff. But, Paul, how's everything going down there in Charlotte? We don't have his picture up there because he hasn't been to the barbershop since the pandemic hit, so he doesn't want to be on camera. So if you're wondering why he's not on camera, he's camera shy because he looks like a mix between a werewolf and a Yeti right about now. What's going on, Paul?
What's up, fellas? How y'all doing?
Hey, man, loving it as always, man. At DC Sports Other Politics, baby. That's what we do. What we got going on in the boxing? When I seen you had some interesting posts out there on your IG and on your page talking about some interesting things going on in the boxing world. Fill us in what's been going on since we last had you on.
You know me, man. Hey, but by the way, the Yeti, I might got Yetis to pass. This joint's busted, but but real quick, I always got to throw in 2 quick statements beforehand. One, I like to post every three or so weeks. So y'all still mad about the Westbrook trade and all?
I saw that one.
Everybody was crashing it early on. I'm like, y'all still mad? And the other thing is, I got to brag because a whole 2 rounds before, I said the Redskins need to draft BrianB because I know him because he went to high school with my stepson here in Charlotte. And I'd be damned if that's who they ain't get. So I'm happy about that. But enough about football, man. It's been an active week, yo. Boxing starting to pick back up a little bit. It's been a little while. I mean, I haven't been off for a while because a lot of the fights weren't really, there were some good fights, but not the top-notch blockbusters. They don't want to risk a huge payday on it in front of an empty arena, Mm-hmm. So, I'm going to start off with the obvious, man. Canelo and Billy Joe Saunders yesterday or the day before yesterday? I mean, that was in the packed house in L.A. I'm looking at that video scared. Like, I don't know. A lot of unmasked faces in that crowd. But I tell you what, though, I did miss the sound of a full crowd roaring when the fight was good. So, people slept on Billy Joe Saunders. I told people, he ain't no punk. And he got great defense, great hand movement, southpaw work, great angles. He don't fight like a typical stiff British fighter. And, naturally way bigger. Undefeated, this is the unification bout. Remember, Canelo came up from 147. He done won championships from 150 all the way to 175. So I mean that man's collecting belts like Pokemon cards. So he took on Billy Joe Saunders, and everybody said, I don't know. Well, I'm a big Canelo fan, and I already know what's gonna happen. Canelo's one of those guys like Floyd and like Bernard, where everybody loved to hate him. But they always think, oh, they getting handled in the first few rounds. No, that's only because they're letting you show them what they got, breaking down your patterns. So it was evident from the first round. Everybody knows Canelo's best punch is his right hook. Canelo told his corner that he was going to knock him out in the 7th, 8th, or 9th round. Billy Joe Saunders has never lost. I don't even know if he's ever been knocked down. And Saunders was looking good, man. I mean, he was working his angles, southpaw, landing a lot of good jabs, spinning around, but ultimately, wasn't too much effect. Canelo's that good. But I kept noticing that since Billy Joe Saunders is a southpaw, when he ducks, he tends to duck towards his left, which puts him right in line for that Canelo rear uppercut, that right uppercut. And I'm telling you, I saw it from first round. I said, he going to start eating that uppercut. And lo and behold, crack up. He caught him with it a few good times, 8th round. The bell saved him, but he didn't come out for the bell for the 9th round because his face was broke. And I just want to say, man, like this stuff make me mad, right? Because I never got the chance to compete, right? But I've been training with legit trainers, even trainers that train world champions like Champ Mitchell. I just learned under some great boxing trainers, so I know what I'm talking about when I see this, right? And it's just like the way this man beat this dude. I don't think people truly understand what it is, that he was able to do. I mean, Saunders ain't no punk. And he's very difficult to figure out. And, just me watching it, I'm like, damn, if I could, if I was in his corner, I'd be like, hey, you're going to have to stop ducking and keep your hands up. And if you're going to duck, you need to duck offline because he was right in line for Canelo's punch. And just going back to what I was saying a minute ago about learning about boxing, I was in the fire department, man. I saw dead bodies left and right. I know a lot of people figure speech say, I'm prepared to die in the ring or I'm prepared to die on the football field. But ultimately, your life ain't worth entertainment. And it's dangerous entertainment, and I know boxers hate to hear that, but it is entertainment. It's a business. And I hate those we don't play boxing type of guys, right? They get on my nerves because, I love to see the Jake Paul fights. But what frustrated me was because Daniel Dubois, another British up-and-coming heavyweight, had the same fracture, orbital bone fracture, the whole side of his face caved in. He knew something was wrong, so he took a knee. They called him a quitter. Billy Joe Saunders, ironically, said, you're a quitter. Well, what happened? His face was broken in the exact same way. His skull was essentially caved in from his cheekbone to his orbital socket, and the cornerman stopped the fight. So I hope he learned a lesson that you can't fight if you got one eye. And ultimately, your life and your career is more important than just other internet trolls saying he's a coward, he quit. Because to them, I asked, was Joe Frazier a coward when he didn't come out to answer the bell against Ali? Or when Roberto Duran said no mas against Sugar Ray? Or when Holyfield stopped against Riddick Bowe? It's just sometimes you got to know when to stop. And I give credit to Billy Joe Saunders in his corner, but, Canelo just too much, man. And ain't nobody touching Canelo until he feel like it.
I feel you. So, what else been going in the boxing? I saw something about Floyd Mayweather supposed to be fighting Jake Paul or one of the Paul boys or something. I'll let you talk about that.
You know what? I know a lot of boxing, purists say they hate it, but here's the funny thing they don't realize, right? Mike Tyson and Floyd Mayweather made boxing what it is today in terms of everybody expecting big bucks, right? So out of the top 10 highest grossing pay-per-views for boxing in history, right? Every single one of them is Mike Tyson or Floyd Mayweather. But guess who was on number 10? 10th highest grossing pay-per-view boxing match, Jake Paul. So boxers are hating, but here's the thing, right? They confuse the fact that because he is a famous YouTube personality that he somehow can't be a good boxer too. He's serious with this. He's in the gym every day. He had training with Mayweather. He's training legitimately. You know, so he is a legit, you know, he's young, he ain't fought no big names yet, but it's interesting because he can fight. His brother that's fighting Floyd, look, he's 6'1", 210 pounds. Floyd said, I ain't fighting you till you get down to 160. So he got to lose, what, 50 pounds in about a month. So, you know, Floyd playing games with him.
Mm-hmm.
But I like it, man. I mean, to me, you know, everybody says it's bad for the sport, and I always wonder, like, it's a sport, and don't you want to make money? Because when you get these other people bringing attention to the sport, like the Mike Tyson Triller event with Mike Tyson versus Roy Jones, how much money did that make? You know, people want to see it. So it's like, I don't see how it's a bad thing when everybody can benefit by getting paid off of it, especially with them being on your undercard. Because if you a middle of the road boxer that's on pay-per-view, like the Charlos, or even an established fighter that people don't know a lot about, like Errol Spence. I mean, just having one of the Paul brothers on the undercard will skyrocket your pay-per-views. And I don't see why some fighters think that's a bad that is bad to see these exhibitions and these young celebrities, because I think it's great for the sport. More exposure, more money, and better off the fighters will be.
Yeah, it's guess it's kind of like the the rap game now, where you have YouTube and you have Spotify and all these streaming platforms where they don't go through the rigors of going through the trials and tribulations to get the big name or the big bucks. So, I mean, honestly, I ain't really a fan of the Jake Paul dude, but if it make money and folks willing to pay for it, I can't be mad at you. I just hope that Floyd does what he does and lets him know that boxing, like you said, he's serious with it, but like you said, he hasn't faced anybody real deal. So I just hope that when Floyd does his thing, come out on top, that he either has a better respect for it and takes it more seriously, or he gets the hell out because he didn't got his butt whipped so bad.
The thing is, I think Floyd is going to toy. I think Floyd is just an exhibition. So, he going to be toying with him. But Jake Paul, I mean, he's only 21, 22. He's been boxing actually since he was like a teenager. And, I mean, when I say he's serious, he is, I watched him fight a few times, and he's legit a serious, good fighter and boxer. And the thing is, like, since he's only 3-0, 2-0, of course he's going to fight other nobodies, right? But the good thing about him is since he has the celebrity behind him, he can fight boxing nobodies who are also famous too in other sports, like when he fought the UFC guy last in the boxing match. Ben Arskin, I think his name was, knocked him cold. But he's every fight he's stepping up his competition. So I'll be interested to see who he fights next. But you know what my dream fight is, y'all? Ocho Cinco is about to step in that boxing ring.
Yeah, so.
And I would I would pay to see Chad Ochocinco fight Jake Paul or Logan Paul. Now that'd be a fight. And it's funny because they were on their podcast, but I think that'd be a good fight for Jake Paul fighting the guy who, because Chad actually knows how to box. He trained just like Brandon Marshall, and I'd pay to see that, man. That'd be interesting.
All right, well, whatever fights we got coming up soon that we can break down, we have our own little boxing segment because I got some other surprises for you that I've been working on also.
Yeah, we got the typical every single year, the Errol Spence, Terrence Crawford, Don. I say it every year. It ain't never going to happen. But we got Joshua fighting Fury coming up in June because Deontay Wilder decided he didn't want no more of that work. It's ironic. Deontay Wilder hired Malik Scott as his trainer. And if you know who Malik Scott is, they call him Scuba Diver. This man takes dives. He took a dive against Wilder when he knocked him out. He took a dive against Ortiz. So I don't know why you would hire him for your trainer. Dillian White beat Povetkin, so I think Dillian White is trying to get that fight with Wilder now because Wilder's in a bad position. We just had Derek Chisora lose to Joseph Parker. And like I said, man, the big fight coming up. Joshua Fury, that's going to be definitely on that top 10 list of all-time buys, and I assume that's going to be a rematch at minimum, possibly a trilogy, depending on who wins the first two fights. But I'm looking forward to that. I just hope and pray that my man Joshua don't come in all heavy like a bodybuilder like he tends to do and get rocked. Because Tyson Fury got those hands, those quick feet, and knows how to set you up perfectly. So Joshua better be ready to be on the move because Fury is a whole other animal. And I love Joshua.
Yeah, I actually saw some footage of Fury training a couple of weeks ago, and I was scrolling on Instagram, and he looked like he training serious. He ain't playing, So it's going to be definitely interesting to see how that gets. I know you love Joshua, and I know you respect Fury, so I know you can't wait to see that fight. But let the folks know where they can find you at and get some of that great boxing knowledge you've been passing out.
Yes, sir. You can find me on Instagram at pugilist_HQ, PUGILIST_HQ, and also on Instagram at P from Charlotte, the letter P from Charlotte, all one word. And I don't use Twitter much, but I'm on there. Also, P from Charlotte.
All right, bro. I appreciate you taking the time out. I know the Army didn't probably had you tied down and beat down all day, so glad you had a chance to bring some boxing. I'm gonna get with you offline. I met a ex-boxer / trainer that I'm gonna work on us getting a little Zoom call once you get the Yeti beard and haircut and everything taken care of, man.
It's crazy because I got my wife is the graphic designer and a photographer. I got all the lights, all the cameras, ring light software, backdrops and everything. But until I get rid of this tuft on top of my head, I'm in hiding. I'm in witness protection to my own house.
I actually saw a video of him on his Instagram and I didn't even recognize him. I was like, who the fuck is that convict? And I was like, oh, that's Paul. He hasn't been to the barbershop in over a year. No wonder he looks like that.
I got hang time with no cornrows. It's like people probably like, man, what's your cash app? You all right?
Yeah, they gonna think you escaped from somewhere, bro. You gotta do something about that, man. If you gotta ride up here, I got some clippers and some trimmers up here, man. I got you, man.
Hey, man, I've been slacking on mine. My clippers and trimmers been in that box. I think I'm just trying to see how far I can take it now. I really don't got no excuse.
Hey, at least you can. Some of us brothers don't have that ability to grow hair no more. So yeah, go ahead and cherish that.
That's true. That's true. So I'm definitely thankful for what I do got.
No doubt. All right, Paul. Well, I appreciate you taking the time, man. I'm gonna holler back at you and we get coordinated for that next boxing special, man.
Okay, fellas. Great show as usual. Thanks for having me on.
All right, man. Take it easy.
Peace.
Yeah, thank you, Paul. As always, always a very interesting segment. I always enjoy listening to that. We're gonna get into our Wizards segment. I know he had a great comment about our Westbrook fan, our people that are Westbrook haters. Are they still haters today? I would say no. I mean, I've been pretty impressed. There's some people that still are, but overall, I'm pretty impressed with what I've seen this year. I know we'll bring back our Wizards roundtable. Carol, are you? I was gonna say that ran long. If you want me to end the show tonight, or if you want to do the whole thing, whatever you want to do.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and step back and sit back and listen. I'm gonna turn my camera off and let y'all rock and roll as always.
Cool. All right, sounds good. I gotta give Brian Brennan. Yeah, he gave props from the beginning. Said that he thought it was a good move. So I'm happy that he is correct. We're bringing back DCsPeoplesChamp as well. Thank you for being part of our. We did a post game show on Saturday. That was a lot of fun, and he's been also giving a lot of scoring updates on our Twitch feed as the No Spots Pod, which I really appreciate. True No Spots Pod, rather. As we've been breaking down this 182nd triple double for Russell Westbrook. I thought there was a small chance he could do it this season. I had no idea he could do it with a few games remaining. It's been incredible. We're also going to bring back in our other guests to see. Arun will bring back on his camera as well. I don't know if Tim is joining us tonight. I haven't heard from him.
No, he said he's taking the night off.
That's fine. Perfectly okay, and it's running a little late, so this will make it go a little bit quicker. That way I'll get each one of your takes on all these different games. But we'll do it kind of lightning round. But since Champ, you haven't been on yet, how are you doing tonight?
I'm okay. That game kind of hurt. It was great that Westbrook was able to get to become the king of the triple doubles, but that last shot, I'll talk about it later. But yeah, I'm okay. How are you?
I'm doing okay. I feel the same way. And of course, this is not the first time where I've broken into the hockey segment and tried to do a final play. And I should just really quit doing that since now game-winning shots are not falling for us. Shots against us or daggers happen when I do it. So, yeah, maybe I should just stop doing that live on air. But that was kind of a rough moment for sure. All right, let's see if I'm going to share my screen real fast. And then that way I can put some stats live on here. Let me just share it with this. I'll go over here. exit. And then that should be perfect. Make sure the OBS looks okay. And we're going to move that right there. Perfect. All right. So thank you for bearing with me. So let's get into the week that was for the Wizards. So last week on Monday's show, we did a post game for the Pacers game, and that was a very exciting win for the Wizards. One of the few games where I was able to bring in the fact that we did win a live game on air. If people want to go into that breakdown, they should go into last week's show. To save time, we won 154 to 141. But we break that game in great detail down on last week's podcast, episode 224. So please just go back and check that one out. We're going to skip ahead to the Wednesday, May 5th game. And this game was a little bit brutal. So all the losses in the last couple, like in the last month or so, have been pretty close games. Most of them within 3 points. And this is another one of those games where they had an opportunity to win it and they didn't. The Wizards outscored Milwaukee 37 to 29 in the first, but unfortunately Milwaukee put up 42 points in the second, outscored them 42 to 34, and then in the third, the Milwaukee Bucks continued their rampage, outscoring them 32 to 24, and the Wizards tried to make a game of it. They actually outscored them in the fourth quarter, 39 to 32, and again they got within 1 point of tying and 2 points of winning that game. Westbrook was phenomenal, 29 points, 17 assists, and 12 rebounds. Bradley Beal had 42 points. Another game where he scores over 40, and they lose. I'm going to go to Champ first on this one. Champ, what were some of your thoughts on it?
I said from last week's show, to go back and listen to it, I said that this was the game that kind of scared me the most because of the fact that the Bucks were one of the best teams in the East. And the fact that they were only able to lose by only 1 point gave me confidence to know that this team is built to be able to go against some of the best teams in the East. And it was tough. I mean, they got out in front early, which is a good thing you want to do against a talented team like this. But then they kind of fell off the wagon before halftime, and then again couldn't pick up the momentum in the third. They had to wait for the fourth quarter to do it, but by then it was too late at that point. But again, to only lose by 1 point to one of the best teams in the East, you can't ask for nothing more than that. And they showed that when they play against teams that are tougher than them or have a better record than them, they play the hardest. And so that's what they did. They played the hardest, and the fact that they only walked away out of Milwaukee, only lose by 1 point, with Beal scoring over 40, another triple-double from Westbrook. I can't say that I'm mad at the performance. I'm actually happy with the performance. I'm just sad for the result. That's all I got to say. I was happy for the effort, but the result is where it should.
Yeah. All right, let's go to Brian next, and then I'll get a Arun's take after that.
Yeah, this was a great game. I mean, every Wizards game, though they've played lately, has been just phenomenal. Just great basketball games. And this was no different. You mentioned that Beal scored 42 and they still lost, continuing kind of his bad record in games where he scores more than 40 points. And they really, they almost won this game. Garrison Matthews almost hit a shot from basically full court that would have won this game. It almost went in. Could you imagine if he had hit that shot? It would have been insane. I think every Wizards fan across the DMV would have had heart attacks across the whole state. But that would have been crazy. But it didn't go in, unfortunately, and it's a 1 point loss. You got to admire their effort in this game. Milwaukee's one of the best teams in the East. To come that close is frustrating, but a great game of basketball, and every game the Wizards have played lately has just been so much fun to watch.
Yeah, and that's coming from someone who's not a fan of the team, but
I am really enjoying watching this Wizards team. I am.
Yeah, that's exciting. And it's funny, in turn, I've liked watching the Knicks when I've gotten a chance to see them play too. So it's been an
appreciate
year, for sure. Arun, what are some of your thoughts on this really close game?
Yeah, it was actually a winnable game down the stretch, especially because Giannis fouled out of the game with 2 minutes to go. He committed an offensive foul. The Wizards were down by 1 after a made basket, but Pat Connaughton was left wide open for 3. He hit 2 clutch threes from the Bucks. Westbrook on 1 play forgot to guard him, and then the second play was already in rhythm, and Westbrook didn't close out fast enough, and unfortunately the Wizards were not able to pull out a win. And Beal with a great 42-point game, but that wasn't enough. He had a nice three to put it to one, but I don't know why the Bucks took a shot in that situation, as Brian mentioned. And then Garrison Matthews had a chance to win the game, and it just rimmed out. The Bucks were coming off a game previous. They just beat the Nets 2 times in a row. They didn't have a letdown for most of the game, but they did have foul trouble. Dante DiVincenzo fouled out. Giannis fouled out. So 2 starters, and Chris Middleton not playing. I think the Wizards actually should have won this game down the stretch, but it is what it is. It's a loss for the Wizards, and that's the way it turned out.
Yeah, a really great game of basketball, though. It is unfortunate. So, that game, when it was live, I was actually doing this really awesome show with Josh Turk. If people missed it, and they go to my YouTube channel, go to sportsothp.com, click on the YouTube link, or also they can click on our podcast button, and then it'll be there. And I'm also going to put it on the website tomorrow. It was a great conversation that we had, and it was tough because I was watching them lose that game. I watched the Capitals win that night. It was just like this up and down emotions, and I was breaking down the scoring of it for chat as it was happening, and it was such a close win. It was a close loss rather, and I really thought they were going to find a way to win it. Just a really exciting ending, as you alluded to. With a chance at the half court, and it just kind of almost rims out. I mean, but a great chance at it. I mean, half court shots are not easy. Most people wouldn't even get close. And I thought it was a good half court shot.
Man, last Wednesday was amazing, and that dude is so talented as an artist. Amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, he was really cool. I hope people go back and check out that podcast. It was a 2-hour show. But it was really fun to do that. I have another one tomorrow that I was talking about before with Carly. I hope people tune in for that as well. She's modding right now in our Twitch chat. The next game is against Toronto, that same team that Josh roots for. And this was a crazy game because this is really important in the standings. So we're going to flip over to the standings just really fast. But as you can see down here, right now the Raptors are down at 12. But the Wizards are unfortunately in 10th because the Pacers came back and won that game tonight against Cleveland. But, I mean, they need that extra room here. It's not a lot of space with just about 3 or 4 games remaining for a lot of teams in the NBA. So this becomes a really important game to give them a little bit. It could be a two-game swing if Toronto is able to win it. The Raptors outscored them by 2 in the first. And outscored them by 7 in the second, but the Wizards are able to outscore them by 5 in the third, and then by 4 in the fourth, forcing overtime. And the Wizards outscored them by just 2 points, 16-14 in overtime, to squeak by in a crazy game. 45 points for Bradley Beal, 44 for Russell Westbrook. They almost had 90 points combined. Russell Westbrook also had 17 rebounds, 17 assists, and 13 points. And Bradley Beal had 5 rebounds, 5 assists, and 28 points. So just a great game for them. I'm going to go to Champ again first. What are some of your thoughts?
Well, Bill had 28 points, and Russ had 13, but he also had 17 boards and 17 assists.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right. It was 28 points. It was. I was reading the minutes, not the points. You're right. It was Bradley at 28. It was Russell Westbrook at 13. It was a different game I was thinking of where Russ went off. But yeah, anyway, good point.
But no, this was another game where, again, it was a game you needed to win, especially standings wise. I believe I heard during tonight's night, either before tonight's game, that as of tonight that the Raptors were out of the running for even the 10th seed at this point. I'm not sure, but this game right here proved to be very pivotal for the Wizards in terms of the standings and being able to at least secure themselves a spot in the play-in bracket. And they had to win this game. They were on the road, and coming off a tough loss to Milwaukee, this was a game to win. And that's what they did. Your stars went out and performed. Bradley Beal performed. Russ with another triple-double. The triple-double team watch was on at this point. Raul Neto went out there and balled out. Rolo went out and balled out. Everybody did what they had to do to win what was a pivotal game in the standings for their chance to be able to say, we're going to the playoffs and going to the playing game coming up when the season ends.
Yeah, I just did the math real quickly, and if the math is correct, you're right. The Raptors are now out, so it's a battle between the Wizards and Bulls now for the last game. Because let's just see here, how many games does the Raptors have left? They only have 4 games left, so yeah, we're more than 4 wins above them. So that tells me that it's now a battle between the Bulls and the Wizards. The Bulls still have 4 games left against the Nets, the Raptors, the Nets again, and the Bucks. Those are some tough games. Obviously, not the Raptors one, which is not a lot playing for. So it'll be a tough run for the Bulls to try to take that spot. But I just wanted to take a look at that. Arun, real quickly, what are some of your thoughts on this game and how it affected the seedings going forward?
Well, the Tampa Raptors' most successful season in Tampa Bay, apparently, but they still missed the playoffs. Westbrook had a couple of bizarre moments in this game. He did have 17 boards in another assist game, but he left Ben Bleed wide open for 3. He doubled, for some reason, he did a double team on Siakam, left Ben Bleed wide open for 3 to tie the game. And then with the Wizards up 6 and the game moving out of reach, Westbrook was doubled, threw the ball away, and then for some reason, 10 seconds later, Westbrook was so upset he committed his 6 fouls to foul him out of the game. The Raptors cut the lead and was more nail-biting time. Siakam was on fire, 46 points. The Wizards did enough to win against the Raptors team that is doing the opposite of what the Wizards are doing, which is they rest Kyle Lowry and OG Anunoby, 2 of their 3 best players. It's still nice for the Wizards to get a win. Field came up big in overtime, but the players of the game were Raul Neto and Robin Lopez, each with 25 and 24 points. So good games by them. They were the MVPs of the game for me.
For sure. Brian, any final thoughts on this game?
Oh yeah, I loved this game. I thought it was a really back and forth game. One thing I said in the group chat was, Pascal Siakam scored 44 points in this game for Toronto, and usually when you get a performance from a player like that, the team that gets that performance usually wins. But no, the Wizards won this game because they got a really great team effort from everyone. Even without a huge scoring night from Westbrook, he had a triple-double. You mentioned Beal with the 28. And, Neto, you can't talk enough about what the role players for this team have been doing a really good job lately. Neto and Captain Hook, Robin Lopez, have just been great. In the Pacers game as well, they were both great. So shout out to them. They were a big part of this win. I thought the Westbrook foul was kind of funny. I thought that was a funny moment. And I'm glad they survived him despite him fouling out. Yeah, great win, a great game, really fun game. From my perspective, at least it was fun. I'm sure it wasn't a lot of fun for a lot of Wizards fans, but yeah, a really good game to watch. I loved it.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's get into that next one. This one's really important. Champ and I broke it down, right after the fact, but this was a night of overtimes and extra innings. Obviously, Brian was, I'm sure, happy with all 3 results, or at least more happy. I was less happy about that Yankees result, but the Wizards, it started off close. They outscored the Pacers by 33-32 in the first, even scoring of 30 points in the second. The Pacers outscored them, scored 39-29 in the third. But then the Wizards were able to flip that around and outscore them 32-23 in the fourth, and outscore them by 1 point in overtime. Bradley Beal put up 50. This is the game where they both put up big numbers, 50, and Russell Westbrook put up 33 for a combined 83. Russell Westbrook also put up 19 rebounds and 15 assists, and just an incredible week for he's been doing such incredible things, but in the month of May, before tonight's game, he was averaging 26.2 points, 16.4 assists, and 15.6 rebounds. So that's almost like 26, 16, and 16, which is just insane numbers. And the fact that he's one of the top 10 in the league in rebounds right now from the guard position. Is just kind of unheard of. I'm going to have Brian give his take on some of that, just because from an outsider's perspective, to have such a good rebounder from the guard position.
I mean, what did I say at the start of the season, guys? When you have the opportunity to get a player like Russell Westbrook, you absolutely have to take it. And I'm sure all Wizards fans are happy that they did. You mentioned it, that guards, they're not normally known for getting rebounds, but to average 16 rebounds in a month is insane. I mean, he's absolutely killing it right now. You mentioned that Beal scored 50 points in this game, but it got completely overshadowed by what Westbrook did in this game, in my opinion. I thought Westbrook was phenomenal in this game, and to close it off by hitting those 2 free throws at the end of overtime to give them the lead, and the block was tremendous. I mean, he's just been so good. He's turning into one of the best trades the Wizards franchise has ever made, honestly. You can't say enough about how good Westbrook has been for this team, especially lately. And this was a huge win. You mentioned Indiana. You're fighting with them for playoff positioning in the play-in. So to beat them twice in a week is huge. I have confidence that if the Wizards were to play the Pacers in the play-in, that they would take care of business against them after watching these 2 games. And, I can't say enough about Westbrook. The Beal injury sucks. It's disappointing that he scored 50 points and then ended it by getting hurt. That sucks that he missed tonight's game as well. He's probably going to, and he is going to miss Wednesday's game. But Russ put the team on his back in that overtime. He's been great. Can't say I have nothing bad to say about Russell Westbrook. That guy is tremendous.
Champ, I know we did a post game together, but what are your additional thoughts on this game?
Just to expound upon what Brian said, and I said this on our post game that we did, and inside joke, you got the right screen this time. Inside joke. Anything. The smart, this is what shows how Westbrook is such a smart player. And he said this in the post game on NBC Sports Washington. He knew that if he tried to block with his right hand, he would have drew a foul from the 3-point line. And 9 times out of 10, those free throws would have been made and they would have lost the game. So he smartly went left hand block to make sure his body was out the way, and he called all ball and got absolutely the perfect block to end the game after making 2 clutch free throws to get them into that lead, put them in a position to end the game with a critical defensive foul, which is rare for a team that doesn't play defense. So Westbrook played out of his mind. Beal, he ended up missing the last part of the 4th quarter and all of overtime after he suffered a mild hamstring sprain. And that's why he didn't play tonight, or he's not going to play on Wednesday. And it showed before the 4th quarter, like before the end of the 4th quarter, he was at the score table like punched over in pain, and that's why he ended up sitting out. But he played out of his mind with 6 points. This was a big win for this team, a big clutch win on the road against the team they're fighting for to get into the playoffs. Love every minute of it.
I totally agree. Arun, what are some of your thoughts?
Westbrook came up huge with that block. That block with the left hand was pretty huge. And then the 2 free throws, I don't know why LeVert committed that foul, but props to the refs for calling it down the stretch in that game. Beal with 50. I thought it was pretty unfortunate that he left with an injury, but the Wizards managed to pull through. They without him. I think they really blew out the Pacers. The previous game, the Pacers were back to play a tougher game, and it was closer, especially with outfield in the game in OT. I'm glad Westbrook came through with the block in OT, and I think the Pacers are probably without Malcolm Brogdon, they're probably not even. They're definitely not better than the Wizards right now.
Yeah, I'm going to go back to the standings here because it's so close. Again, the Pacers were able to come back and win today, and they edged just ever so slightly over the Wizards, but the Wizards have an additional game in hand, I believe. Is that correct? Yeah.
You have the tiebreaker over the Pacers, too, if there's a tie.
Yeah, so the tiebreaker, and there's 3 games left for the Wizards, and is there only – wait. There's four games left for the Pacers. I'm confused. Is that wrong on my
The Wizards have played 1 more game.
The Wizards have played 1 more game, so that's problematic for the Pacers. Okay, so Probably for the Wizards rather. And so the Pacers, we'll have to see how they do down the stretch. They've been 5-5 in their last 10. The Wizards have been 6-4. And so the Pacers again, they've got tough sledding. They got 76ers, they've got Bucks, they got Lakers, and they've got Raptors. So be interesting to see what they do at the end of their upcoming schedule. So let's get into tonight's game real fast, and then we'll take a look at the week ahead. The Hawks had a 34-32 lead after the first. Then in the second, the Wizards outscored them by 3. Then in the third, the Atlanta Hawks just crushed us, 35-17. But then in the fourth, the Wizards put up 45 points to the Atlanta Hawks 29. But the Hawks were able to again win by 1 point. Rui Hachimura had 20. Westbrook had 21 assists and 13 rebounds and 28 points. They tried to put us on the back, and again got that the record of 182 triple doubles. So just some interesting play. Bogdanovich had 25 for them. Trae Young had 36, and John Collins had 28 for them. Champ, what are some of your thoughts on this unfortunate loss?
I said it in our group chat after the buzzer sounded. I really wish that Westbrook didn't take that shot. And this is why I said that. I didn't say it in the group chat. I wanted to wait till the game. This is why I say I wish Westbrook didn't take that shot. Because their strong suit, this team, the Wizards, is points in the paint. And I'm pretty sure the court vision that Westbrook has, he could have found somebody in the paint, and they could have got a much more high percentage shot to win this game. They only needed a 2-pointer to win this game. They didn't need a 3. So when he took that shot and it missed, I said, why would you take that shot when you have the court vision that you have? You could have found Hot Rui or somebody in the paint, and they could have made that 2-pointer, and you walk out of there 126, 125. So I just wish that they didn't take that shot. But congratulations to Westbrook for now becoming the all-time leader in career triple-doubles at 182. Fantastic accomplishment. He's going to finish the season averaging a triple-double yet again. Unfortunately, he probably won't be in the running for MVP because the team's record is not that good, so he probably won't even be considered as he should, in my opinion. And lastly, Brian, I'm so sorry we couldn't beat the Hawks on this night. I'm so sorry we couldn't do it. Hopefully we can do it on Wednesday. But
Appreciate that, man. Appreciate that.
Yeah, so it's frustrating because I see what you're saying. I do think that I would have rather them get a higher percentage shot, but on his legendary night, you think maybe he wins it. So I could see it both ways for sure. It is disappointing for a whole lot of reasons, just because you hate to lose on a historic night. I'm going to ask Arun this question. I don't know if I'll know the answer. He's now won more than lost in the triple-double games, right? I know for a while he was losing triple-double games more often than he was winning them, but I believe that stat has changed,
I am not sure, but I believe that's probably the case.
Yeah, I think that he's now, maybe because of the last couple of weeks, is winning more. But it's interesting. It's hovering right around 500, though. And it's not like it's frustrating because that was the thing I was really frustrated with at the beginning of the season. We were losing a lot of his triple-double games. And I was like, oh, is he just doing it for the stats? And I don't think he is anymore. But you'd hope that on such a big night for him. It sucks that he had to go and get the game ball after a loss. It's just, I don't know. I found that very frustrating to watch for sure. Brian, what are some of your thoughts on this one?
Another great game, a good comeback effort by the Wizards. Going back to what Champ said about Russell Westbrook taking the shot, I'm kind of indifferent with it because I think back to another historic night in Russell Westbrook's career when he clinched averaging a triple-double in his MVP season. He hit a buzzer beater 3 in that game in Denver to win that game when he was on the Thunder. So I don't know if maybe he was thinking, I want to end this historic night the same way I ended that historic night. Maybe that was going into his mind. But I agree that actually I feel like if he had driven to the lane a little bit more, that is what the Wizards are good at. Maybe not finding going to the teammates, maybe just going himself, honestly. I mean, he's so good at that. So I agree the shot selection could have been better, but they did have a nice comeback. I mean, it's incredible that he now has 182 career triple-doubles, and he's just going to keep adding to it. I mean, we'll see if anybody ever gets to that record, but it's very impressive. And congratulations to him. And I'm kind of indifferent on the shot. Could have gone either way on it.
Right. It's interesting. You know, he makes triple doubles look so easy, but I think I was looking at the stats and the current leaders. LeBron doesn't even have 100 of them. You know, so it's just like
he has 99.
Yeah, he's 99. So, but has almost twice as many. Like it's just, that's such a mind-boggling thing when I looked at it. Like I was like, holy cow. And it's just such an interesting era. You know, we were looking at stats earlier as a group chat, and we're looking at Steph Curry, how he's only like 83s away, and like, you know, he played so many less games, and from the record for Ray Allen and three-pointers. And it's just such an interesting era to live in, and you know, these records, they're being blown away, and I just don't know, you know, in the future whether or not we will still see it again, because again, it's really hard to rebound from the guard position, and it's really hard to get assists from the forward position. So it's just like, to see what he's doing, it's pretty incredible. Arun, your take on A, this historic night, and then B, on this unfortunate loss.
Yeah, it's great for Westbrook to get the triple-double record. I think what I felt was impressive, he tied for second for having 15 assists or more in 5 straight games, second all time. That's also cool. So maybe he's on the verge of breaking more records. He had 21 assists. But I tend to agree with Ken. I had a problem with the last shot. I think the problem, of course, was that they were doing offense, defense. So I think Brooks should have called the timeout to put Bergman back in the game. I guess Westbrook took the shot that was available because the Hawks were smart to put 2 men in the paint. So Westbrook took the 3, but he is only 31% three-point shooter. He's one of the worst three-point shooters of all time. He is the clutch. That's when he's close to the basket, and he's at the free throw line. He did have that game winner against the Nets. They needed a 3, and it was like 2 seconds, so that was different. They had 6.5 seconds to go call timeout, could have drawn up a play, spread the floor, get Westbrook into the paint, and with Bergman spreading the floor. But it is what it is. I don't have really a problem with Westbrook per se taking the shot. I have a problem with Doc Brooks not calling a timeout, putting his players in a better position to win.
I agree with that, because it almost looked like Westbrook, knowing time and possession, and the fact that they didn't take a timeout, took a shot knowing that if he missed it, maybe there was a chance at a rebound and a putback, right? It was like, you know, because he shot it with 2 or 3 seconds left. It wasn't like he waited and then shot it at the buzzer. But I also think that threw off his timing a little bit, you know, being a bit hesitant, like trying to go early so that we could get a rebound shot, but not do it at the buzzer, you know, like the 2-second one you were talking about. So I do agree. I think they should have called a timeout. I understand maybe wanting to go with the flow and maybe catch them napping, but it's tough. I think Arun, you make a good point with the players we had on the floor. So
everybody in the gym knew that Russ was going to take that shot. That's that problem I have. That's why I said he shouldn't have taken the shot. Everybody knew he was going to do it.
Yeah, I can see that too. All right, let's. I know that we've gone over a little bit on time, but we had a great boxing segment. So I'm just going to give the 3 times. One is still to be determined. Just real quickly, the first game is going to be the rematch, the Hawks at 7 o'clock on Wednesday. Then on Friday, they play the Cavaliers at 7, and they play the Hornets on Sunday, and that game is to be determined on the time front. Some interesting matchups. I actually think that looking at the last couple of games compared to some of the other teams that are fighting for this playoff position, they've got a big opportunity here. They can beat Cavaliers. I think they could beat the Hornets. I think they could even beat the Hawks in a rematch. I'm going to let each one of you guys pick one of those games, just for timing purposes, to talk about. I'm actually going to let Brian go first on this one. I'll be interested to see. I think he's going to pick the rematch, but I'm curious which one he wants to talk about.
Yeah, I am going to pick the Hawks rematch just because I'm a Knicks fan and I need the Hawks to lose too because we're fighting with them for playoff seeding right now. So hoping that the Knicks can or the Wizards can win this game and help the Knicks out a little bit. I think all three of these games are winnable. Like I've said, I've been really impressed with this team lately. They're playing their best basketball this season. I think all three of these games are definitely winnable, and I think they will beat the Hawks on Wednesday. I think they'll win the rematch.
All right, I'm going to go to Champ. You're going to get next. You want the Hornets or the Cavaliers?
I'm going with the Cavs because they've already proven they can beat the Cavs. They've beaten the Cavs before. And it's recent. So this is another, I feel like all three of these games they're going to win because they need to win out in order to guarantee themselves a spot to play in, but also guarantee themselves a chance to be able to be in double elimination instead of single elimination. And going off of what Brian is saying, with them beating the Hawks, I think they can beat the Cavs to really put themselves in position where Indiana is not going to be a threat because of the tie break and everything like that. And they're just going to do what they do with the Cavs. Cavs aren't as talented as they used to be. They don't have what it takes. You most likely will have Bradley Beal back. So you're going to have another scoring weapon on the floor. I go with the Wizards to win this one all the way.
All right, so that leaves the last game, the Hornets game, at a time to be determined on Sunday. But it does mean that we will recap the regular season next week on the show. Again, if you are late to the show or did not hear in the hockey segment, if there is a live hockey game on Monday, we will move the podcast to Tuesday to try to not compete with the hockey playoffs. So the time of the podcast is to be determined for next week. It's probably Monday. Unless there's a hockey game, then it would be Tuesday. Unless there's two games in a row, then we're going to have to figure that out. But the Hornet game, Arun, what are your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, this game could be big depending on how the Wizards, if they beat the Hawks, that's the big game because the Hornets have the 8th seed, and that means the Wizards in the play-in tournament would only have to win one game to make the playoffs, and they would potentially play the Celtics, who just lost Jaylen Brown for the season, if that was the case. But it could be tough against the Hawks because the Wizards right now are 1-9 without Bradley Beal and 2-16 in the last 18 games without Beal. So it is a winnable game, but I think the Hawks on offense have been pretty much unstoppable, and most of that run was made with Trae Young on the bench, and they did nothing really to slow him down the stretch. Now Bertans can get hot from three, and Westbrook is a little bit better. I thought he was great. I don't know if he can be. He had 21 assists and he hit 3 of 7 from threes, even though he missed that game-winning three. So I don't know. We'll see. The Wizards win out. That Hornets game will be important for the Wizards to get the 8th seed, and that would mean they only need one game in the play for to win.
Yeah, so basically the Wizards, as they rack up potential wins during this week, could definitely rise up in the ranks here. Again, the Hornets will play the Nuggets, the Clippers, the Knicks, and the Wizards. So it's going to be a tough bunch of games for them. And the Wizards have an opportunity. They're only just about a game and a half back of the Hornets. So there's definitely an opportunity there for them to climb all the way to the 8th seed. So it'll be interesting. Also, if they lose all of them, the Bulls win everything, there's a chance that they could fall out of this completely. So they could have a great week and put themselves in a great position and be in 8th place if all the other cards fall with them, or they could find themselves out of the playoffs if they have a really terrible week. So a lot's going to be riding on this upcoming week, and I thank you guys for helping us break it down. I'm going to let Arun give his final thoughts before we let him go. And
I was randomly listening to sports talk radio, and they said they had no problem. It was like on, I don't know, it was like a podcast, and they said they had no problem with Westbrook saying that he was the best player in the NBA, but they managed to bring up RG3, but they said they had a problem with RG3 one time saying he was the best quarterback in the league, but they had no problem Westbrook believing that he was like the best player in the NBA because he has that much confidence. And congrats to Westbrook for breaking the triple-double record, breaking Oscar Robertson's record in every game. He'll have a chance to break a record, and this record probably stand for a long time. It's 47 years that this record has stood, and congrats to Westbrook for breaking the record.
Sounds good. Well, thank you for helping us break it down, and we'll break down the last week of the regular season and this playoff, play-in, whatever situation that we're in. Or maybe if the podcast happens on Tuesday, maybe it'll be during it. So I don't know when the first couple of play-in games are going to be yet, but it's probably going to be pretty early next week. So a lot to break down, of course, with you guys next week. But Arun, thank you so much, and we'll talk to you next week.
Sure, thanks for having me on.
All right, we're going to go to Champ next. Let people know what they have going on at the No Spots podcast this week.
Yes, we have Wrestle Chat Wednesday coming up on Wednesday. Topics to be determined. I know one of them is going to be about how independent wrestling, the smaller wrestling promotions, are the backbone of the professional wrestling industry. The other one is to be determined. And of course, on Saturday for the podcast itself, we will be doing a preview of WrestleMania Backlash for WWE. So we'll be talking about that. I'm hoping, and everybody can go to True No Spots Pod on Twitch. Towards the end, there was a touching tribute that Sith gave to our fallen leader, Black GOP, on the 2-year anniversary of his passing. Unfortunately, I was not able to chime in on that because I lost power at the end, but it is what it is. So make sure you check us out, twitch.tv/True No Spots Pod this Wednesday and this Saturday.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm going to give a shout out right now on our Twitch channel to yours as well, so people can go follow you over there. Champ, thanks again for doing the post game this week with me and doing this. And definitely, it is a tough time, for our network. I do want to say rest in peace, to our founder, Black GOP. He's the one who brought us all together. Without him, a lot of us would never have started a podcast. And I remember Brian becoming a friend early on because he was on my podcast and I was on his. So, a lot of, all these friendships with all three of you guys have grown, from a vision that he helped us see within ourselves. I know Carol will have a few more moments to talk about at the end of the show. But I really appreciate it, Champ. We're trying to live on that legacy, and much love to you, and thank you again for all of your help with modding and being a part of my Twitch channel as well. And we'll talk to you next week.
Absolutely. You guys take care.
All right, Champ, take it easy, man.
All right, Brian, I know that you had a busy episode both last week and you had one that dropped, I believe, today. Let people know all the latest things on the Upon Further Review podcast.
Yeah, so I released a new episode today. It's a pretty good episode. I talked about my experience. I went to a Mets game on Friday, which I don't normally do. So I talked about my experience going to Citi Field and how that was like, what that was like. And it was a great time. Talked about the Yankees, the Knicks, the Rangers a little bit as well. Some big national stories as well. I had a great time. I really enjoyed the episode I released today. So I hope everybody go check it out. It's episode 46 of Upon Further Review with Brian Brennan, and another new episode coming your way on Friday. So stay tuned for all that. DC United, tough loss for them this weekend. The Columbus Crew, they lost 3-1.
Two own goals, right?
Yeah, bad loss.
That's the difference again.
I think own goals is leading the team in goals at this point. Honestly, it's been a rough start for DC United, but we'll see how they do the rest of the year. Unfortunately, I didn't see their game this weekend, but hope to check out their one whenever it is. Or it's on Thursday. They're playing on Thursday against the Chicago Fire. So I'll keep an eye on that one for sure. And thanks for having me on, guys. I had a great time.
Yeah, thank you, Brian. Thank you for being a good sport with all of the Rangers talk earlier. And
it's all love. I just want to say it's all love at the end of the day. You guys have your opinion on it. I have mine. And it's at the end of the day, you guys are still the best. And glad to be friends with you guys and glad to be on your show.
All right. Well, I appreciate that so much, and we look forward to breaking down the playoffs with the Wizards, and of course continue our Nats talk next week as well. Congrats again on the Yankees. Unfortunately, we'll have to watch Tim with a Yankees hat.
Unfortunately, I can't wait.
Exactly. So we'll let that happen next week on Wizards Talk, but we hope that you have a good week.
All right, thanks, guys. See you next time.
All right. Well, Carol, I've gotten a little opportunity to speak on our founder, and it's crazy. It's been 2 years already. It's kind of hard to believe. But we do this in his honor. As a big part of it. It's he believed in the vision. We were just sports talk. We were just guests on shows to start, and then broke off and started this podcast. And here we are, 225 episodes later, 6th season in. Really appreciate everyone for tuning in. Live on Twitch and on Twitter and a million platforms and podcasts and. He believed in us and he gave us this opportunity. But speak on him and any other final thoughts that you have.
Yeah, if he was very instrumental in linking us all up together. They put the nugget in my mind of doing the podcast, and he was a great business mind. He was a great mentor, a great leader, and think about him and miss him every day. But without him, there would be no Sports on the Hill, no Sports on the Apparel, none of the other businesses that I have that I learned through working with him. He brought, us together, and we branched out and started, me and Robbie, back in 5 years ago. Just me and him. Now we have a team of over 14 or 15 that all have the same vision, the same dream, So we're pursuing things, making things bigger and better, trying to, make his legacy come true. We have some things going on at the Bar Radio that I'm working with on Sundays. We got some moves coming up. If you noticed, we didn't work on last night. It won't be on next week. 151 is going to Atlanta with one of our other business partners to take some pictures for a comedy tour. I'm also working on some things on that tour also. So be on the lookout. We're not just about, podcasting. We're also a full multimedia operation here. That's the dream that GOP had, and that's the vision that myself and 151 is putting together, where we can do movies, we can do videos, we can do commercials, we can do any and everything, and we're going to use that and branch out and just be on the lookout, because you never know what we're going to pop up at. So he had a great vision. We had a great bond. I'm upset that I only got to know him for 3 years of my life, because he had so much more knowledge to give, but he had the vision, he had the thought, and he instilled some of that in me, and that's what we're carrying on. True Radio Network. We know we don't shout a lot like we used to, because there's a lot of things going on behind the scenes, but we always going to be True Radio Network until we die, because that's what brought us all together. Appreciate y'all tuning in as always. DC Sports Out of Politics, we brought this out, because there needed to be a change in the DC sports media market. Some folks see it, some folks hear it, but pretty soon everybody gonna know about it. So stay tuned. We got a lot of things in the works, and we're growing, expanding, we're making moves, and making things happen. As always, going to end the show with independent music, because that's what we're doing at the Bar Radio. Always go check them out on our playlist on At the Bar Radio podcast. You can go subscribe on YouTube, or you can subscribe on my channel, Carol Porter III. That's with 3 eyes. On YouTube, because as I mentioned, we're making some moves and possibly moving away from Facebook. So be on the lookout. Nothing's determined yet, but we're in talks on some other things. So appreciate y'all tuning in as always. DC Sports Out of Politics. It's not just a catchphrase. It's not just a motto. It's what we do. Sports on the Hill podcast. We'll catch you next week. And we out.
You don't really want to play. what I'm talking about. We don't really know what you always been talking about. And I don't wanna be the one who always really talk about. And you don't really want play. You don't know what to say. Cause money, 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 money is what I'm talking about. Money, 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 make you shut them mouth. Don't never ever talk about it if you never had the clout. You don't know what to say. Stay up out of my way. Cause money, 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 make you shut them mouth. Keep playing with your goonies, boy, I'm gonna have to make the call. Stay in bounds on your pivot, boy, if you gon' ball. Cause a lot of niggas be fake, and you really can't play. Cause we done got it out the mud, nigga, what you talking about? Screaming, oh my God, money got me pride. They living a lie, look into my eyes, they might seem surprised. This is homicide, we just multiply. We been on the rise. If we got some wings, fuck it, we gon' have to fly. Money, 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 what you talking about? Day in my life, I take me a different route. Use all my cash, niggas on my face. You can get it erased, what you talking about? Money, 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 money's what I'm talking about. We don't really know what you been talking about. And you don't really want play. You don't know what to say. Cause money, 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 money's what I'm talking about. We don't really know what you always been talking about. And I don't wanna be the one who always really talk about. And you don't really want play. You don't know what to say. Cause money, 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 money's what I'm talking about. You never crossing these borders. I'm whipping it up, Gordon Ramsay. I swear that I'm cooking these orders. You talk about me, you better just hope that you can just really afford it. I'm balling, I'm balling, I'm winning, I'm winning. I'm feeling like Robert's a horror. Nigga, I'm scoring. I count in the morning. They talk about it, then I gotta ignore it. My bitches be foreign. So independent, my money be corporate. These rappers is boring. You hate me and I'm always gonna adore it. I'm smoking that soaring. She always go ahead and let me explore it. I call her my Dora. You can go and talk about me, I ain't flawless. I go put my all in. If a nigga talk about me, then I'm gone in. You know that I'm gone in. Jump in, take trips, Pompeii. All day, always keep 3 stacks like Andre. I get it, I get it, I get it, I get it, man. And you can never, ever, ever get rid of that. So watch what you say, and watch how you do. If you play the game, then you play by the rules. Money, 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 money's what I'm talking about. We don't really know what you been talking about. And you don't really want play. You don't know what to say. Cause money, 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 money's what I'm talking about. We don't really know what you always been talking about. And I don't wanna be the one who always really talk about. And you don't really want play. You don't know what to say. Cause money, 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 money's what I'm talking about.
Try and learn. Y'all making too much noise.
Who she says she like that?
Satellite.
Yeah.
the fuck is this sound like?
North, south, east, west, coast to coast, killer shit. Bitch, I'm strong enough to raise your roof and wash your ceiling split. Plugging holes in your game, they calling me the ceiling fix. Ain't no one in my lane, I'm training night and day. Y'all gonna know my name. What's my name? What's my name? What's my name? Yeah. What's my name? What's my name? Y'all gonna know my name. What's my name? What's my name? I'm from Jojo. Y'all gonna know my name. Drinking all the sake. Classes now in session. I am Black Mr. Miyagi. Teaching all these lessons in defenses in karate. If your language ain't offensive, you'll be left here in this trolley. Testing your cardio. Nothing but body blows. Swift kicks to your dominoes. You better dominoes. You'll be left with a snotty nose. Two pissing till your eyes can close. Look, listen to me, son. I know what you want. What? I teach you the speech. Position your hands. Yeah. Your stances are wrong. Nah, be quick on your feet. Twist when you hit. Yeah. How can you miss? Nigga, you bigger than me. You thinking too deep. Yeah. Stop getting baked. Get your delivery sweet and make you some cake. Yeah. And make no mistakes. You'll never physically peak. Reaching infinity speeds. Adrenaline heaven, you dizzy for weeks. What's my name? Get calm in the man, nigga, walk on water. Walk on water? And you, my friend, at the hands of a rusty barber. What's my name? Come, sit down. You don't want to get slaughtered. Nah. For acting an ass and harassing the staff next class, I'ma have to charge. North, south, east, west, coast to coast. Bitch, I'm strong enough to raise your roof and wash your ceiling split. Plugging holes in your game, they calling me the ceiling fix. Ain't no one in my lane, I'm training night and day. Y'all gonna know my name. What's my name? What's my name? What's my name? Yeah. What's my name? What's my name? Y'all gonna know my name. What's my name? What's my name? I'm from Jojo. Y'all gonna know my name. Honor the flow. I am on fire, start drop and roll. Cause I got the glow. Go beyond the process of consciousness, come out your body and flow. I show you how to write when the oxygen carbon is all that we smoke. Zone in a place where the mind's unfocused. In the space of your time's unfolded. Observe every word that emerge with a verb. Leave you numb to the nerve like ibuprofen. No token, take you a drag. You hidden and ready to pass with Mayweather swag. You dipping and hitting this medicine bag, well it ain't Zab. Don't miss two hits like a hell of a jab. This veteran's fast. These hands so quick, I can split three feathers in half. I'm out your range. Two shots to knock your brain from out your frame. We not the same. I'm good with my hands in every way like Doctor Strange. Nigga, what's my name? Get calm in the man, nigga, walk on water. Walk on water. And you, my friend, at the hands of a rusty bomb. What's my name? Come, sit down, you don't wanna get slaughtered. For acting an ass and harassing the staff next class, I'ma have to charge. North, south, east, west, coast to coast. Bitch, I'm strong enough to raise your roof and wash your ceiling split. Plugging holes in your game, they calling me the ceiling fix. Ain't no one in my lane, I'm training night and day. Y'all gonna know my name. What's my name? What's my name? What's my name? Yeah. What's my name? What's my name? Y'all gonna know my name. What's my name? What's my name? I'm from Jojo. Y'all gonna know my name.
Can you hear me? I am calling now out your name, and now I know, and I'm here, and you know it. It's all just the same, and I know it's gonna be disco. Take me to a place where everybody learns, where everybody sees, where everybody shows their love. I didn't think so. You know. That's why I always try to plan ahead for you or me. I really didn't think so. I take a promise, I give it some love, I make a wish upon a star. You know you gotta get it right. I